Are we recording?
We are recording.
Oh.
I did it. I've step one complete.
I do
Press
not
button.
understand why you're yelling at me. It's only episode 92.
We're recording.
You're very loud.
Oh, sorry.
92. Episode 92 of
Fresh Floppies.
Fresh
One of
Flop.
these days, you're gonna know the title of the show we do.
Well, I know the title of the show. I thought I was going to do it alone.
Oh, sorry. You're never alone when I'm here.
It's a threat.
Yeah, it is. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently listening to Fresh Floppies, which
Fresh
is a show
Floppies.
wherein Noel and I...
Me.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
We talk about the books that come out on New Comic Book Day. It's for anyone who doesn't know, that's every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, tons of new books coming out, hitting your shelves at your local comic shop. And sometimes we lovingly refer to them as floppies.
Is there ever a Skip Wednesday? There's not.
There's not.
Christmas Day.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
No. There were comics like...
Oh, were there comics
Yeah.
on Christmas? I don't pay
26,
attention. I only
25.
own a shop.
Look.
Don't ask me to pay attention
Never
to.
stops. Nothing will stop us but a global pandemic when it comes to
That's true.
weekly comic books.
And we got some this week.
Wait. I mean, you always just go in raw. A little banter, a little bit of
We just did
monologue.
banter and
No,
we just did banter.
We rushed through a title.
Oh.
No, you know what? It's like a. If I mention it, we can't do it. Insert transition here.
All new Venom number 5 from Al Ewing and Carlos Gomez with colors by Frank DeMarta and letters by Clayton Cowles.
Biggest book of the week.
It's a pretty big book.
Pretty
big book.
It's finally revealed who is the all new Venom, and how they got there is still a mystery. This book is structured almost exactly like Jason Aaron's Thor, where it was 6 to 7 issues of who's that Thor? Who's that new Thor? What's that new Thor? And then by the time people probably have guessed it and have gotten annoyed, they finally reveal it. Yeah. But they do it in such a way where it's like, okay, and? The okay and has not happened yet. This is just the reveal, so it's nothing but more questions with a little bit of a
lead up to a
tease.
reveal,
Yeah. I'm assuming the next arc of the book will probably go back in time to see what the hell happened after Venom War.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think of this?
I enjoyed it. Okay, so we're not going to spoil who the reveal is.
We had a discussion beforehand. I was pro-spoil. He was anti-spoil, and he's probably right. That's fine. If you are going to comment or anything like this about this, our thoughts on this book, we will do full spoilers and answer questions next issue or next time. But as of right now, we're going to pretend like it's a mystery. Yeah.
But also feel free to email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com to tell us your thoughts. My thoughts, since you asked so nicely, Noel, is that this has been a really fun series. I'm really enjoying every issue of this. It's been a blast. I think we can we reveal that it's not...
Well, you're about to reveal it's not something, so that's still closer to knowing. So we were presented with suspects, and that might have been all red herrings. They're just everything's a red herring. Again, not unlike this is comic book tropes. It's fine. Like so. I did not expect this book to break new ground.
Okay.
It is just doing very tropey comic book things in a very fun way. Yeah. So
it's a delight.
I think people approach this book with the mystery sucked. I think they're taking the wrong thing out of this journey. Yeah. It's not about the destination. It's the very weird, wacky, almost high concept sci-fi way that Al Ewing is telling this story that makes it fun. Yeah. You know, like Venom fighting MODOK and AIM and all of these weird new tricks and crazy. Yeah. There's a lot of slapstick in this book too. Yeah. There's a lot of like Looney Tunes style slapstick. So not unlike, did you ever get a chance to read his Metamorpho?
No.
Not unlike that, where it is very evocative of a specific format of comics and tone, but modernized. Yeah. That's what this book is. This is like, it's got a little bit of 60s Spider-Man wackiness. It's got a little bit of like high concept Marvel sci-fi, and it's got like a, gumshoe kind of pump your fist. We're gonna get to the truth kind of vibe to it, and that's the point. Not who's actually in the suit, at least for me. So when it was revealed, I was like, all right, cool. What is it? Moving on.
Yeah.
Like, tell me why.
I like the reveal.
I do too.
I'll get to that.
I'm not against that at all. I think a lot of people might be like,
"Whoa,
what
I guarantee." Yeah. I'm not. That does not surprise me.
Nobody knows what to do with
the.
Yeah. But I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit. Like, why? First of all, it's fun, or you stop. And if you're not having fun anymore,
how dare you?
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Someone Tom Brevoort set the entire internet on fire this week by saying, well, have fun or stop. It's kind of that thing, right?
Yeah, and I think this follows along the same lines. If you're ever reading anything and you are so diametrically opposed to the direction it's going, you don't have to hate read it.
Find something else.
Or you know what? Give it a break.
Mm-hmm.
If later you find out like, oh, they really pulled that off, go revisit it.
Yeah.
Don't like. It's not a FOMO market. It's just enjoy it or don't, and then move on. And these books have been going on for 60, 70 years. There's
going to be down periods that you personally don't enjoy, and that's okay.
Yeah. Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
There's eras you hate, but you did hate read them, most of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I don't know if hate reading is the correct term for what I do. I hope read. I don't hate read. I hope read. Mm-hmm. I will read a thing if I'm not enjoying it, but it's something that I am emotionally attached to, like Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. I will keep reading in the hopes that the next issue will be the one that I enjoy the most.
Let's advocate for that. Hope read or stop.
Yeah.
Don't hate read.
Yeah.
You're
just making yourself miserable.
Because
and
honestly,
others.
a lot of people have spoiled this book, not because it's news and they want to be first, but because they want to pre-hate what they haven't read.
Yeah.
And that's
everything.
That's mildly unforgivable as a consumer. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So storytelling, I think, is fun as hell. The art is absolutely fantastic. I did not know Gomez before this, but I love how he does facial expressions, especially on the symbiotes, man.
Yeah.
There is something so cute about Venom's characterizations.
Yes.
Like the face and the mouth and the big teeth.
Mm-hmm.
There's not unlike it's almost like the polar opposite of how McFarlane drew him to how Gomez draws him in almost approachable nature. And now knowing that probably has to do with the host is just so fun.
It works.
So fun. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Sleeper.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess he takes the form of a cat and then also takes over his host without them being aware.
So that's,
right?
As far as I know, that's a newer development for Sleeper.
Oh, I see.
Sleeper was introduced in Johnny Cates' run.
Yeah.
Of just like in hiding. But the ability to hide in a host without their knowledge and then erase it, I think that's new.
Yeah, okay.
Or if it isn't,
neat.
if it isn't, I wasn't aware of it until
scary.
now. But because in the last issue they did a whole thing about Toxin and Sleeper are in a jail cell being like held, and Toxin's just like he doesn't even talk to me anymore. He's just always over there quiet sleeping, and it's probably because he's been force projecting or whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, this was fun.
Yeah, no, I think this is pretty fresh. This series is pretty fresh. It's a very it is tonally not like any of the Venom runs that, in my knowledge from before, or at least in the recent history. So I could see people getting sketchy about it, but also it's different enough for if you've never tried Venom, you should give this a shot. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, anyone out there who kind of fell off, because I've had this conversation in the shop a couple times where there's like, once Donny Cates left, I just didn't care anymore because whatever the new direction was with Al Ewing took over the book. And I was like, yeah, me too. So being that, jumping back on right now would be a fun time, I think.
Yeah, it's a good book. Another good book, at least in my opinion, we're going to talk about is Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, #1. Story by Charles Soule and Steve McNiven, art by Steve McNiven, and others.
Dialogue by Charles Soule,
Yeah, well... Sure, he did scripting, but they came up with the story together. They actually in the back of here, they have a script page and some stuff. Anyway, this book apparently took 5 years, which is fine. Well, actually, a little more than that. They started it pre-pandemic, and then things happened here and there. But they had decided to do this almost like mega Marvel style, where they can do everything together. McNiven did the layouts, no panels, no panels stuff in the script, and Soul just kind of went back over and actually added the dialogue that they decided on before. So this is a fully collaborative comic book.
Yeah.
It's Old Man Daredevil.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. I really like it. I think Charles Soule is a fantastic writer, and Steve McNiven is a fantastic artist. And it's been fun to watch Steve McNiven go through on his Instagram or social media, and you can see him studying some of the previous masters, like, from Weapon X. Barry Windsor Smith, stuff like that. Here he is very clearly doing a Frank Miller-esque style.
There's some Quietly in there too.
Some Quietly, sure. While I love it, I see you call it Old Man Daredevil, which is what it is.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking Dark Knight Daredevil.
I mean,
it's just a
rose of a different color.
Well, I think a lot of the storytelling that McNiven here is doing harkens back to Dark Knight Returns quite a bit. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that's cool. That's a cool idea. I just wish it wasn't so wrapped up in that bow. I feel like it could be its own thing without harkening back to Dark Knight Returns, which is exactly what Spider-Man Reign did by Kari Andrews. And this one is, I think, even stronger than that. This is really, really good. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful, and I've enjoyed the evolution of McNiven's style too.
Yeah,
I like this style exponentially more than the Old Man Logan, where it's high saturation coloring, kind of almost digital looking. His pencils were always on top and sharp, but they almost manufactured a sheen on top of them to make them a little bit more skeuomorphic.
Little overproduced.
He was more, it seemed like a couple years ago he was more interested in realistic textures more so than physicality and image. This has a much more penciled, watercolored, lived in style that I think is 1,000 times more engaging and more tactile.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I
absolutely look that page right there. It looks like tree cover, but then you realize it's the outlines of a wicked smile in the skyline. What this is, and so the back of this book actually does have a couple of process pages, and one that obviously when I was reading it, it really came into focus. But there was So the plot of, we don't even know the ordinary world of this book. It's just many decades later. Matt Murdock has lost all of his senses just naturally, runs a soup kitchen in Hell's Kitchen. There is some sort of post-war reality we're in. We do not know what the factions of the war were, other than it seems as though there's no more heroes. The Brooklyn Bridge is completely gone. New York is isolated. And there are still some freedom fighters. There's a villain, or at least a group of villains that are being referred to as the DBs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking to you. I was like, maybe Noel knows what a DB is.
I thought about it for 5 minutes, and I was like, the book will tell me. It's fine.
Yeah. Great. Okay, cool.
But then something happens, and Matt gets a little bit of a pep in his step and decides to take a little action.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Great.
So we have reactivated Old Man Murdock.
Yeah.
And there is a page here where he gets his senses back, and it is technically a 16-panel grid.
Yeah.
It is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I said this last week about something else. I'll say it this week. Marvel, I know you're listening. Because
they put us on in the writer's room.
It's been 92 weeks. They listen. That's how it works. Yeah. Longevity. If you do not reprint this in Treasury Edition,
now this would be
I'm
a good
boycotting.
One. This would be a good one.
Absolutely boycotting. Treasury, you know what? I'll settle for a gallery edition if you really want to do that. That's fine. But this 3-issue miniseries, just judging from the first issue alone, deserves the largest format possible.
I'm with you.
I want a full artist edition of this bitch. This is absolutely beautiful.
This was a fresh AF for me.
Fresh AF, absolutely.
All new Venom, pretty dang fresh.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Daredevil's
fresh.
Like if you haven't read Daredevil in a long time, it's not mired in continuity. You can just jump on to Daredevil Cold Day in Hell #1 today.
I think for Venom I would say fresh, not pretty fresh, fresh, and then very fresh. Yeah, the fresh. Speaking of next book.
Yeah.
Absolute Green Lantern. DC presents All In Absolute Green Lantern #1, written by Al Ewing, our friend of the show, Al Ewing. He's a current, constant visiting the show, with art by Johoy Lindsay, who I'd never heard of before.
Janoy?
Did I say Hoy?
JAHNOY Lindsay.
I'm assuming
Janoy?
the H is silent, so Janoy. Yeah, Janoy Lindsay. So this is a complete reintroduction.
Elseworlds.
No, I mean it's absolutely. It's not an Elseworld.
It's like What If.
It's not a What If.
Absolute Green Lantern, episode 1, The Black Hand.
A reorigin, a redefinition of Green Lantern in the Absolute Universe, which is.
Hold up a second.
Yeah.
You said the Absolute Universe.
Sure.
Do we think the Absolute Universe is one universe?
Yeah.
These are not all different Absolute universes? No,
they've confirmed as such.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one.
I wasn't sure yet.
So, I mean, there's an. Did you listen to the iFanboy interview with Scott Snyder?
No, not yet.
He literally says what this universe is.
Oh, wonderful.
It's
the Ultimate Universe.
No. I will paraphrase. This is not a spoiler technically because they announced it. The All-In special, you remember the All-In special?
Yes.
With Darkseid dying?
Yeah.
He figured out to get stronger, to elevate to the next level, he had to die. His death created a new universe that is gestating him to become basically Galactus level threat.
Thank you.
This dark, air quotes, darker or more unkind existence world is slowly feeding him so he can be reborn as this like celestial version.
Interesting.
That's why we saw the teases of the Omega Legion, the Dark Legion, and it's this. All of these books exist in a world where the impetus of life was dark energy from his death.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, so like this is all a shared universe. These all exist in the same world. Mm-hmm. They're just completely away.
I understand. Okay. So the world that someone winds up, was it Booster in the All-In special? He winds up, that is definitely this universe.
Yes, but it very well could have been, so time is a flat circle. It very well could be later in that point or before in that point. But yeah, he talked about how the mega story that they're telling with All-In, it started with that. All of these books will exist for about a year or so. Yeah. There will be a second piece where they talk about the next phase in that, and then it'll all lead to some sort of giant thing. But he did mention the impetus of it all did come from superhero comics are dead, and they all need to be dark now. Not unlike with Infinite Crisis, honestly. Yeah. And he was just like, okay, so I'll create a bad guy who not only can fight or destroy superheroes, but also erases stories. So his the big version of this Darkseid, if he hits you with the Mega Beams, you get unwritten.
Oh, okay.
You're done. Like
it's
just
neat.
So it's building stories from darkness.
Fun. Wow. Yeah. That's cool. I love stuff like that. I like hearing the impetus behind things like that.
So knowing that and reading the first issue of this book makes perfect sense. You take what you thought you knew and kind of twist it in a very uncomfortable way. Yeah. I found myself liking the story. Yes. Not really jiving with the art.
Yo, dude. Yeah. The art. I don't know the artist at all. I've never seen this name before. It seems to me like this is not a big DC book artist. This feels like it is not on the same level as any of the other Absolute books. Story is great. The art does not speak to me.
I think it's a swing. I wouldn't be surprised if Al Ewing actually asked for this artist. Yeah. So whatever he is they are building. It's intentional.
Yeah.
It's just a style that I would not have thought to step forward with a relaunch. No. It's a very sparse kind of manga-esque style. The facial acting, the eye size, like it's not full. What is the term? Chibi? It's not like but it's a little slight.
Yeah.
This is a dark, high concept sci-fi book, and the art doesn't say that to me. It says no background anime.
Yeah.
And I don't like that to begin with.
There was an artist back in the early aughts, maybe late 90s. I want to say was doing things with Transformers back in the day. Somebody Lee, not Jay Lee, not Jim Lee, but it was another Lee.
Stanley?
Who very much looks like this sort of art, and I didn't like it back then, and I don't like it now. But the story, a lot of really fun things are happening in here. A lot of gnarly, gross things. And this is not the Hal Jordan that we know and love for sure.
Yeah, it's complete. Well, all of them. Like, so we're introduced technically to 4 main character or 4 known characters. 5. Ooh. Evan Sur's in there too.
Yeah.
But they all seem to be. I mean, it's a reckless kind of youthful Hal Jordan. Just he doesn't end up the same place we expected him to end up.
Yeah.
John Stewart's in there. Sojourner's in there. Guy Gardner's name checked as a annoying, problematic sheriff.
Yeah. Perfect.
Heart of shit, morals of steel.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much to stepping back, there is so much to like about this book, and ultimately, I like it more than Flash, Absolute Flash.
Okay.
Despite
it's certainly doing things differently.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I am a story first kind of person, and the art just kind of pulls me through.
Yeah.
But even when this art is not to my liking, I will stick with it if the story keeps me going. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I don't think this is bad. It's just not. It's not how I imagined this narrative being depicted.
Yeah.
It's like a great movie with a score that does not match the tone of what you're showing me, right?
Yeah. It just does not feel like, this is a huge initiative, a huge push. Every series so far has been pretty baller as far as like creative teams, and this one just feels like kind of an afterthought for the artist. Or like what artist to pick. But listen, that's just a personal opinion. That's just it's all subjective.
I would like to say that again. It's subjective. This Janoy Lindsay could possibly be one of the most popular and the greatest at what they do. I don't have an issue with their talent. I have an issue with the tone of the book does not match the way it's depicted. The style.
Yeah,
like that's not. I want to make clear this is not a effort or ability stink that I have. It's more of what I'm looking at does not comport in my brain with the things people are saying, the tone in which and the terror in this book. This is very like. I would not be surprised.
Stuff in here.
I would not be surprised if James Tynan's name was on this. Like it's that kind of like makes me uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah.
Like that kind of sci-fi horror.
So far it's a horror superhero book. Yeah.
And the style of the book doesn't really speak to me the way that the story does. Mm-hmm. That's my problem.
I may come around. I remember back when Animal Man started with the New 52, and I was like, not Trevor Hairsine. What's that guy's name? Travel Foreman. And I was like, what is this? But now looking back on it, I was like, Travel Foreman was a perfect artist for Animal Man at that time.
He was very grotesque. It was cool.
Yeah. I would say pretty fresh enough.
I think fresh enough because really the story does kind of like crush me. Like the name of this first issue chapter is called The Black Hand. And if you're a fan of Green Lantern, it's just like, oh, the hell, like what? That's cool.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is really, really cool. I think the story of this is better than Flash. Flash has, I think Nick Robles is just like top 5 current. So like, I mean, of course it's better art.
The artist, yeah.
But of all of them so far, this one landed with me probably the same space that Flash landed, where it's like, in that one, it was like, God, the art is absolutely fantastic. The story's a little boring. The story is absolutely fantastic. The art's a little boring.
Yeah. For sure.
For me.
I agree.
So yeah, fresh enough.
Yeah. I'm on for 2. I'm definitely gonna read issue 2.
But yeah, like last week we had Martian Manhunter, which was extended to 12 issues.
Was it?
Because did so
Good
well.
response. I was wrong there. I was like, I don't know if this is going to find the mainstream audience, and I don't know if people are going to be picking this up like they have been Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. This is, great.
Yeah,
great. That's awesome.
I think it's always nice to be validated that there's a space in popular comics for like weird heady shit.
Yeah,
and I love that.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of weird heady shit, I want to talk about the opposite of that. Actually, you know what? Calling an audible. Weird heavy shit. I want to talk about DC Black Label Resurrection Man Quantum Karma Book 1.
Oh, it's Black Label.
Yeah, written by Ram V with art by Anand RK and a little bit of Butch Geis in there too.
Whoa, Butch is in there?
Yeah, sorry. Jackson
Butch Geis. Yeah.
With colors by Mike Spicer. So
this is an old DC character,
Resurrection Man.
Yeah.
Who the very first page in this book gives you like a Butch Geis old style.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's Butch Geis. That's awesome.
It's a recap page in like comic book form of like, who is the Resurrection Man? It's basically a guy named Mitch. I knew of Resurrection Man, never read it, didn't know his deal.
Mm-hmm.
This just gives it to me. Mitch Shelley is a dude. When he dies, how he dies, he wakes up. He's resurrected with an ability associated with how he dies. If he falls from a plane, he wakes up with the ability to fly. If he gets shot, he wakes up bulletproof. If he it's almost just like.
Sorry, I was in my head. It was like he falls from a plane. He wakes up. He's a plane.
Auto asphyxiation. Wakes up. Oh, it's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this the very first chunk posits. It's that if at some point in his life he met someone and started a family with their kids and lived his whole life and then finally died of natural causes. He woke up because time was the cause of death. He woke up with the ability to see all things at once, all of his lives at once, future and forward and back. So then it turns into a bit of an anthology book, and we spend the rest of the issue exploring one of his lives during in an internment camp during World War II, or the end of World War II.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know yet if it's just a narrative device to tell a bunch of anthologies about his different lifetimes, or if it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
Either way, interesting.
Wow.
Now, it's Ram V.
Yeah.
This is Ram V-ing.
Mm-hmm. All over the place.
It's dense, flowery.
Floral.
Yes, it's very floral language. Ram V in prose has a way of not actually telling you a story, but telling you the outlines of that story in a way that makes you feel like maybe life is but a dream.
Yeah.
Like it's just like so you have to just kind of click into that vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to like really hold me for the whole series, but just the hook alone of time being the reason for his death and then being able to kind of like see all things. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
And that's why it's called Quantum Karma.
Great.
This was pretty cool. This was pretty fresh.
It sounds interesting.
Having my own thoughts about Ram V in general, and then my no connection to this character is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The most of the issue art by Anand RK, which I was not familiar with before, it's very good, but it's very loose. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a looser kind of art. And I think, it's cool.
Oh, I like this.
It's got it's almost like Simone Bianchi without as much structure, without as much musculature.
This is great.
Without weird coloring. Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, it's a very interesting book. Like, yeah, I low expectations.
It's very organic.
Turned out very cool. Yep.
Oh man, very intricate line work. Look at that self-immolation that's happening.
There's a little bit of
whoa.
Maybe even a little bit of Bilki Seveli in there.
Yeah.
It's a good book.
I
had no expectations.
This looks great. Look at these colors. Oh my god. This is great. I'm in.
A 6-issue Black Label.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll at least read this first issue. Wonderful.
It's very cool.
Not big on the cover. I wish was this a variant cover?
No, that's the main
cover A.
Yeah.
By Jeff DeCall. That's a cover.
Yeah, that would be cool.
There's an image on the back of the cover that I wish was the cover.
That's in the book.
Gorgeous.
It's a It was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
so
it looks
like pretty damn fresh.
Wow.
And then,
it was a pleasant surprise for me. I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer by Doug Wagner, and Daniel Hilliard with colors by Michelle Madsen and letters by Ed Dukeshire.
One of my favorite creative teams in all of comics.
It really is. He's not kidding. Previously of plastic, vinyl,
plush, plastic loving dolls.
Yeah, that was the one that just came out in a trade paperback.
Yeah.
I grabbed that for Alice.
Oh, and Ride.
Oh, Ride. I didn't read
forever ago.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
that was
that was their first John.
So yeah, man, I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer is exactly what it sounds like. It is basically this woman who gets accepted into the most prestigious fashion school in the world and likes to do the murders. It's a lot of character work, which is very interesting. I really like it. The only thing I would say is that it feels a little... The character herself feels like someone we've seen a ton of times.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very Jessica Jonesy character. And I was we're like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if she was...
She looks like she was born in a Hot Topic and has the same kind of like gothy tropes.
There you go.
Got it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a best friend in here, and so their sort of interactions remind me of
Daria and her friend. Cool.
So yeah, but other than that, I mean, that's a very small nitpick of just being like, oh, it'd have been nice to have a different type of character be the serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it, I love. I am all in on this book. I think it's a bucket of fun. I really got to go back and finish the like plastic and plush and all those.
Plush was really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cannibalistic furries.
Yeah.
But also love at first sight.
Very cute.
And they all fight racist sheriffs, like sheriff office. I think that was if any of them were going to be turned into like a movie or a thing, Plush feels like it's the most ripe. And maybe Vinyl with Fighting the Cult. They're such good books for sick people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good books for sick people. Perfect. Yeah, highly recommend. If you're a horror comic fan, you can't go wrong. This is great. This is great. I'm sorry I struggled so much getting my words out. Man, I was really... Oof.
I want to talk really quickly about Absolute Superman. DC presents All In Absolute Superman number 6. This one's written by Jason Aaron with art now, fill-in artist Carmine Di Giamenico, who is not a fill-in artist. He's just great. This gives us some much-needed backstory. So we have a little bit of a break from the main plot of the book. Issue 5 ending with Kal-El needing to recharge and having issues, and he's going to go back to Smallville, air quotes, back to Smallville, and we had no idea that he had been to Smallville.
Yeah.
Because he was shifted off of Krypton when he was about 13. So this shows us that deep space journey 6 years ago and how he got where he got, and if he does or doesn't have a relationship with the Kents and with Smallville and what that is. And it is an incredibly sweet, really, really different, awesome story. And then it ends with a reveal of who the big bad of this series seems to be.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, really cool. This is... I love Carmine Di Giamenico.
Yeah.
Like, he's really, really, really good. It's the saving grace of the Flash run that I didn't really care for. And he really, really... He captures the Kents so well. Like, this whole farming sequence and meeting the boy and all the stuff that goes on and transpires, how it's joyful and heartbreaking at the same time. Yeah. This book is absolutely awesome.
I am maybe 3 issues behind.
You should catch up.
I want to catch up.
This is really, really good.
I would say the 3 main Absolute books, this one feels the thickest as far as density. Like, just a lot of words. A lot of, like, it's not, it's Absolute Superman is not one you blow through for me.
I'm thinking.
Whereas opposed to, I think, Absolute Batman is very quick.
I think it's on par with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wonder Woman has a lot of lore. A lot of lore. And the 2 of these kind of have a lot more work to do than he set up Batman to do.
Not bad.
This one so far, Absolute Superman has more of a for lack of a better word, message.
Mm-hmm.
This one so far has the strongest narrative or moral pull. It has a much more one-for-one societal kind of theme that they're going for. The other two are there. The other two main books are there, but they're not as on the surface as this one.
Yeah.
This is basically...
Which is good for a Superman book.
It's perfect for a Superman book. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like
him and Captain America.
This really does feel like the other two books are, hey, what if Bruce and Diana came from different places? This one feels more like, what if a teenage Superboy landed today in 2 days world, and how would that transpire and how would that look? This one does feel much more relevant and much more social justice-y. And I say that as a complete and utter positive because that's what Superman should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, woke Superman. It's perfect.
Dude's always been there. So when I was growing up, G.I. Joe was coming out and on the stands, and it was written by
Larry
Hama. And there was an issue that stuck with me and many, many other people for
21
decades. Issue 21, Silent Interlude, I believe it was what it was called. And I had never seen that before in my life. My tiny, brief life at that time. There were no words.
You had a little brain.
It was little tiny baby brain.
Little brain.
And there were no words. It was just storytelling, just visual storytelling of, I want to say... Snake Eyes was captured by Cobra, and they had a giant tower just in Manhattan, just a giant Cobra tower in Manhattan. And
there's a big logo on it too.
Big logo, big Cobra logo. Yeah, for sure. And I want to say Scarlet goes to free him, and I think it's the first introduction maybe of Storm Shadow or something like that. Anyway, silent issue. So now... that series is still going. For anyone who doesn't know, Larry Hama is still writing G.I. Joe to this day. It comes out monthly. It's just called G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, which is different than the other Image G.I. Joe, which is just called G.I. Joe. And this is hearkening back to that issue 21, Silent Interlude. These are called Silent Missions, and it is a series of one-shots. So this very first one is just Silent Missions, Beachhead, #1, written and drawn by Phil Hester, Travis Heimel, and Lee Loughridge. Loughridge, thank you. What did you think of this?
It was fun.
Yeah.
So mileage varies when it comes to silent issues, but Phil Hester's been doing this for like 30 years.
Yeah.
I think he knows how to plot a book. I've not always been the biggest fan of his, depending on what book he's on, but it looks like he's having so much fun here.
Yeah.
Like he plays with negative space really well.
Yeah.
This was wonderful, but things like this are comics for comic fans and comics for comic people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give this to somebody who's never read the language of comics and been like, isn't it cool? They'll be like, there's no words.
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, it's very much kind of a processy book, because my favorite part of this book was? His pencils in the back. His layouts, like they showed 11 pages of his layouts with descriptions. That was the best part of the book.
Oh, I didn't even look at that yet. Oh wow! To
me, that was like the
those thumbnails. Those are great.
That was the kind of like really high point of this book, like, because it was obviously, when it comes to silent issues, they don't take long to go through.
Yeah.
But it was a sweet little story about two refugee kids in a war zone that helped Beachhead out. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. There were no sticking points, because a lot of times silent issues, if the artist is not absolutely perfect in every single way, there will be story beats that are like, what? Or they'll insert like a random panel that just kind of gives a beat that just to get them there. Like it's a little less designed, or it's over designed and doesn't like tell a story. This rides that balance. It's wonderful. It's awesome. But those thumbnails, those layouts in the back are just like
gorgeous. Those are really nice.
I want that. I want those full size. But this is like the best I've seen Phil Hester in years.
For sure.
Years. You could tell he was having a really good time with this.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've never really loved Phil Hester. I've appreciated him, but I've never been like, oh, great, Phil Hester's on a book. I'm in.
Yeah, he's one of those journeyman storytellers.
Wonderful.
Not unlike, maybe I'll get hit for this, not unlike Keith Giffen. His style, now it's not as cartoony as Hester's, but his style was never like blow the roof off. It was always like more than serviceable, but it was the storytelling and the layout that just was better than most and got you there. Yeah. Hester's the same way. His Green Arrow run is absolutely awesome, even though I never cared for the actual art, but it just, he jives with the writers so well. He did that Family Tree miniseries, which was wonderful. And I'm blanking on 25 other years of stuff.
Of stuff he's done.
But yeah, this is awesome.
There is something to be said for making a static image feel like it's moving. And he really excels at that here. He adds little touches here and there that I just kind of picked up. Like just they're dragging him and it's very clear what's happening. It's a bird's eye view of them. He's on a sheet. He's been injured and these two kids are dragging him on a sheet down a hallway, and it's exactly what's happening. You can tell. My favorite, and also, look at that. There's these little hints of negative space, just absolutely masterful. And then there's another one where
that one right there, where he's doing a flip in the air. He chooses to pick that outside of a panel, giving it the action it needs to get you to the next set of panels underneath it, and it shows you a flip without flipping the book.
And then there is an image where there are some Cobra troopers, and he bursts out from behind like a wall or a door or something like that. And the dust in the room is what's showing you the motion. And so many artists miss that. So many people would have drawn this of just like, hands are up. But the fact that there are these dust trails from the fingertips really adds motion to it. It's gorgeous.
He also adds...
look at the birds.
He also adds incredibly good story beats in here. There's a beat at the very end where, I'm spoiling a book that's got no words. There's a beat at the end where the little refugee boy is starting to emulate Beachhead and wears a mask. And he removes the mask. After they win the day, he removes the mask from the kid, and it's just like, that is the emotional crux of this entire journey. This is I'm liking it more that we talk about it, but I liked it before. This is a great fucking book. Yeah,
an exercise in visual storytelling.
Again, I think this is a comic book for comic book fans.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is a grab. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is a grab this.
I mean, the number 21 when it came out in the 80s grabbed me, and I was a little tyke. So yeah. Anything else? Going to wrap us up?
Yeah, I want to talk about a book that came out this week by AWA and in partnership with Futurific. It's called Polis, written by Mark Russell with art by Lacey and Marco Lesko. Bear with me. I'm going to describe what this book is. There's a couple of letters in here. So this is a 6 one-shots from AWA, all single stories that depict protopias. Are you familiar with a protopia?
A protopia?
Yeah.
No.
So this is a brief summary of This is a piece of a letter at the very beginning of the issue, The Protopian Vision by Ari Wallach. In an age when dystopias dominate our imaginations and utopias seem hopelessly naive, the concept of the protopia offers a profound and essential alternative. Coined by futurist Kevin Kelly, a protopia envisions a future that isn't perfect, but is slightly better than today. A place where incremental progress and human ingenuity work together to shape a better world. This anthology, a collaboration between AWA and Futurific, brings together a collection of self-contained graphic novellas that explore the spirit of protopian thinking, futures that are not free of challenges, but are brimming with possibility. So this story, by Mark Russell and Lacey, depicts the idea of floating cities. So it's basically a free city called Maragua. The year is 2084 CE. I don't know what that means. But it is underwater during a hurricane and then resurfaces and blooms for the civilization. It is a refuge. It's for refugees from any of these coastal towns that it ports to back and forth, and they can live there, work there, get paid there, move on and off to other free cities or to other inland areas. It's basically floating little protopias, yeah. So this story depicts the edge of Florida, Ponce de Leon, Florida, which is a coastal town that was constantly being hit by basically flooding constantly. And now the people that do still live there only live in small, higher ground places and fight off raiders and stuff. A free city shows up, and a young girl who loses her father goes to find the free city in order for her to live a new life. This is a wonderful, fun little book that doesn't, not unlike the idea of a Protopia. It doesn't hide the fact that there is weird stuff and like everything is a struggle, but the idea of a free city in the middle of the water, basically traveling the coast, and there's multiple floating cities. But the letter in the back also, so every single
floating
one
on water.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you first started, you were talking about floating cities. I was thinking, in the air.
Oh no, they're around coastal towns. I thought I made that clear. I'm sorry. Another letter in the back by Mark Russell is really cool. Polis, he says here, refugee cities are not a new idea. In fact, they are one of the oldest. No less a source than the Bible commanded that Israelites to build 3 cities of refuge for people who are on the run for one reason or another. I wrote Polis because I thought that was an idea worth dusting off, especially now that most of us are probably a decade or two away from becoming refugees ourselves. As I write these words, wildfires are devouring significant portions of Los Angeles. Over 4,000 structures gone over the course of 4 days. Fire destruction on a scale never before seen in our nation. As I write this, we are preparing to inaugurate a new president, and also a very old one, elected based on no small part by people's fear of refugees, following an election which itself was interrupted by a hurricane of historic proportions, which denied the necessities of life to millions across multiple states. It's becoming increasingly obvious that we are only 2 kinds of people left in this world: refugees and future refugees. And it's hard to imagine our lack of compassion for current refugees won't be weaponized against us when it's our turn to flee the destruction. Yep. This is a really, really wonderful, thoughtful story. It has the same kind of weaknesses of one-shots, in so much as really, really strong setups, some characterization, and then a rush to a bit of a climax. Yeah. Which is fine. It's a one-shot, but really the meat of this book is the back matter. The back end of it has a bunch of articles, some character designs, some actual designs of what a floating city could look like, the kinds of work that they would do on hydro, terraforming, ocean cleanup, community regeneration.
Wow,
this is edutainment. Yeah. This was a really nice surprise. This is a good book.
Nice.
And it's all of this perfect bound, $6.99.
Wow. Whoa.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
It's even got a cool matte finish cover.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous looking book.
Absolutely wonderful book. Polis by Mark Russell and Lacey AWA. Protopia's collection. I hope the other issues of this, I mean, my reading them is going to be dependent on who the creative teams are. Yeah. But this is a pretty fun, worthy kind of experiment. I think this is cool. Nice. Very cool.
Positivity,
but it's not
sounds nice.
Toxic positivity.
Right.
It's this shit's hard, but there is a way to move forward with it, as opposed to Star Trek, where we're all just like post-war and happy, and there's no money and everything's cool. Yeah. That more and more that seems absolutely impossible. Yeah. Whereas a Protopia is like, oh yeah, I could see the incremental improvements in order to facilitate that not being a problem. Cool. Mm-hmm. Like it's a little bit more tactile.
It's so funny in a time where I'm having trouble envisioning anything other than a dystopia. It seems like a nice read.
This is because these are actual scientific things that can occur.
Well, nice. All right. Anything else? What are you looking forward to this week?
I am looking forward to giving a try finally to the new Secret Six by Nicole Maines.
Nice.
I think the second issue came out. I want to try and catch up on those. What else is coming out this week?
There was an Ironheart one-shot, Bad Chemistry. There's a Moon Girl 10-year anniversary one-shot as well.
A new Psylocke.
What else?
Cruel Kingdom is back.
Oh, yeah, we like the Cruel Kingdom, which is, anyone who doesn't know, if you like those old EC comics, anthology horror, this is anthology sword and sorcery.
Yeah.
Cruel Kingdom. Very cool.
I'm gonna make a good hard push for soft cover collection that came out today. Gotham Year One by Tom King and Phil Hester. That's
right.
That's where I fell in love with him again.
Okay.
It's a hard-boiled detective story set in Gotham in the 1920s about a missing kid, a kidnapped kid, not unlike the Hindenburg baby. Hindenburg is the Zeppelin. Got it.
Yeah. Boom.
The baby in the sky that blew up. Yeah. Duh. We're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
But it becomes a very, very, very intense story about class structure and social issues in 1920 in the 20s era, and was so surprising and so good.
Yeah.
This is a book that I would give people who don't like noir because it's more than that. It's bigger than that.
Right on.
Yeah, and it was previously only available in hardcover for $29.99. Now it's finally in soft. Everyone needs to read it.
Yeah. It's on my list. I'm going to do it.
It's absolutely
and then
wonderful.
Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill came out in trade paperback this week as well.
Yeah, it's a reprint.
Oh, is it? It was already in a trade? I figured it was a hardcover.
No.
This is one of the Daniel Warren Johnsons I haven't read yet.
Oh, it's so good.
I got to get it. Sorry. And I guess that's it. On Wednesday night, we live stream at 8 o'clock on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook Live. And this week, we are Alice-less. We're without Alice. But we're going to be having, instead of reviewing a movie or a show, we are going to be discussing.
We're going to be talking about hot topics in comics. Or you want to actually talk about what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, just relationships, right?
Yeah, relationships in comic books, fictional relationships in comic books, and if they should. So the new Spider-Man movie was just title was just announced, a brand new day, and for comic book fans, that indicates a very rough period in comics for some readers, and it still is rough for them, and it has to do with the relationship status of fictional characters.
Yes.
People
still haven't let go of it.
We are going to try and do a pro-con argument
for both.
For both.
Yeah, both sides. Yeah.
And I think that it should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So join us Wednesday, 8 o'clock.
And yeah, it's the kind of conversation that we probably couldn't have with Alice because she's not as steeped in to this dumbness that we are.
40 years of goddamn Spider-Man comics. Join us and also let us know. You can be there in the chat telling us what you think of these questions.
Right. Comment, subscribe.
Do all that stuff. Leave us a nice review.
Email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com.
That's CULTPOP
Geo.
Oh, yeah, geo@gmail.com.
You're trying to be cool and you screwed it up.
Man,
do it again?
Listen, that's my
Should
whole
I cut
thing.
it out?
Okay.
Nope. Not going to cut it out.
All right. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll talk at you later.
Do.
Do.
Thank you for listening to the Cult Pop Network, home to podcasts, live shows, and a whole lot of fun stuff for every flavor of fan. Follow us wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and be sure to join us live every Wednesday night at youtube.com/CultPopGo at 8 p.m. Eastern. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you'll know when we drop new Thunder Rounds and episodes of Fresh Floppies, a spoiler-free show about single-issue comics released each week. Until then, we'll talk at you later.